What happens when a football showcase turns into a relationship disaster? A coaching opportunity creates tension between friends, and one dinner brings almost everybody's secrets into the same room. Well, you get one of the messiest episodes of All American in a long time. And honestly, I'm not complaining, because this episode had everything. KJ and Tori are already struggling to communicate. Jordan and Cassius are suddenly dealing with a career decision that could change their relationship. Khalil is caught between his football future and his family. Amina is carrying pressure from Dinsburg while also getting pulled deeper into the situation with KJ. And then Coop decides that bringing everybody together for dinner is a good idea. You already know that was never going to end peacefully. The episode opens at the showcase, where KJ runs into Tori. She clearly wants to talk, but KJ isn't interested in having that conversation right now. He's focused on the showcase, and more importantly, he's frustrated because he's been trying to reach Tori for weeks. But instead of explaining everything immediately, the episode takes us back 3 days. And that's where the real trouble begins. Jordan and Cassius showcase problem. Jordan heads over to Beverly because he wants to speak with Cassius about the showcase. But things between the two are still awkward. There's clearly something hanging over their relationship, and neither one seems completely comfortable addressing it. Cassius can't stay and talk because he has another meeting. So Jordan invites Cassius and KJ over later to discuss the showcase. Sounds simple, right? Not in this episode. As Jordan is leaving Beverly, he runs into Mr. Mosley, one of the boosters who previously gave his father a hard time. And immediately, something feels off. Mr. Mosley looks worried. That interaction becomes important because it introduces another layer to the coaching situation. Mr. Mosley has a problem with the Bakers. Mr. Mosley later meets with Cassius and makes his position very clear. He believes Cassius deserves support after taking Beverly to heights that nobody expected. But he also has a very negative opinion of Jordan. To him, Jordan represents privilege. He sees him as a spoiled rich kid who hasn't necessarily earned everything coming his way. And then Mosley makes a promise. He says he's going to handle Principal London. Now, this is where things get interesting, because KJ is already frustrated by the possibility of Jordan being offered Cassius' job. So when KJ realizes that Mosley appears to have his own issue with the Baker family, he starts seeing the situation differently. But Cassius makes his own choice. Despite Jordan's advice, he decides to align himself with Mosley. And that decision could create an even bigger problem later. Because this isn't just about football anymore. It's about trust. It's about loyalty. And it's about who Cassius believes has his best interests at heart. Tori starts connecting the dots. Meanwhile, Tori is becoming suspicious. She meets with Khalil because she wants to talk about Amina and KJ. At first, she's worried there could be something happening between them. But Khalil has changed his mind. He no longer thinks there's anything going on. And honestly, this is one of those moments where the audience knows something the characters don't. Because while Khalil may have backed away from his suspicions, Tori isn't ready to let the issue go. And she's right to keep asking questions. Then Coop makes a very bad decision. Now let's talk about Coop. Coop decides to invite the village, or the Vortex, over to the Baker house for dinner, so everyone can get to know Brianna better. Preach wants Amina to attend. Amina, however, isn't exactly excited about the idea. She tries to get out of it. She fails. And that brings everybody under one roof. Coop is nervous because she genuinely wants the evening to go well. She's preparing with Jordan and Layla, hoping this dinner can help everybody connect. But there's already tension underneath the surface. When Khalil finds out Amina is coming, he doesn't want to stick around. At least he's happy to hear that the assistant coach from Stanford University will be at the showcase. So even while everything else is falling apart, football is still sitting in the middle of his future. Then Amina gets snappy. Coop notices, and she starts wondering whether Amina is hiding something about school. She's absolutely right. Amina's Dinsburg problem gets worse. At dinner, Amina makes her feelings very clear about Coop and Brianna representing corporations. She's uncomfortable with the entire idea. And on top of that, she's feeling pressure because everyone keeps bringing up Dinsburg. But the situation gets much worse when Preach speaks with the dean. He discovers that Amina has been suspended and is now facing expulsion because of the article she wrote. And this is where the episode gives Amina something important. She isn't simply being rebellious. She believes in what she wrote. Coop understands that. She supports Amina because she believes standing up for something you believe in can come with consequences. But Preach sees it differently. He's disappointed, not necessarily because he disagrees with everything Amina said, but because she lied to him. After everything they've been through together, he thought their relationship was stronger than that. And that's where the conflict. Then Tori walks into the dinner. Just when you think the dinner couldn't get any messier, Tori arrives, and she doesn't walk in unaware. Khalil has already texted her about his suspicions involving KJ and Amina. Now everybody is in the same room. KJ, Amina, Tori, Khalil, Jordan, Cassius, Coop, Preach, and Layla. This is basically a disaster waiting to happen. Tori finally confronts KJ about lying to her. She wants the truth, and she doesn't let him escape the conversation. Eventually, KJ admits that he kissed Amina. That revelation changes the entire mood, because now this isn't suspicion anymore. It's real, and there's another bomb waiting to drop. KJ reveals that Jordan has received a coaching job offer from Beverly. Khalil immediately asks Layla if she knew about it. She did, and suddenly, everybody has something to be angry about. This is where Layla steps in. She basically shuts down the entire argument. Instead of allowing everyone to continue screaming at each other, she separates them and tells them to cool off. Honestly, somebody had to do it. Jordan and Cassius face a major decision. Away from all the relationship drama, Jordan and Cassius now have something much bigger to figure out. Their relationship has already become complicated. Now, there's a professional opportunity. Sitting directly in the middle of it, Jordan has to decide whether he wants the Beverly coaching position. Cassius has to decide what that means for his own future. And there are also plans involving Cassius and KJ going on tour with Layla. So whatever happens next isn't just going to affect Jordan. It's going to affect everyone around him. And that's why Mr. Mosley's involvement is so interesting. Because if he's really pushing against the Bakers, Jordan may walk directly into something much bigger than a coaching offer. Khalil's family situation. Khalil is dealing with his own problems. Earlier in the episode, his father wants to meet with him and his mother. Khalil doesn't want the conversation. When his mother arrives, she simply wants to apologize, but Khalil is still hurt. He's carrying a lot of disappointment. And after Jordan and Layla leave him frustrated and unsure about where things are going, Khalil eventually agrees to meet with his parents. They talk about his future in football and education. It's a quieter storyline compared with everything happening at the Baker house, but it's important. Khalil is trying to figure out who he wants to become. And right now, he doesn't have all the answers. Preach finally reads Amina's article. One of the better moments comes later when Coop sits down with Preach. She defends Amina again, but instead of simply telling him to forgive her, Coop encourages him to actually read the article. So he does, and surprisingly, he likes it. That's when Preach delivers one of the episode's most meaningful lessons. Not every fight is your fight. And that's something Amina still needs to understand. Standing up for what you believe in is one thing. Understanding when and how to fight is another. Preach isn't abandoning her. He's trying to teach her how to navigate consequences. And even though he's disappointed in her, there's still a lot of love underneath that disappointment. KJ tries to make things right. By the end of the episode, KJ knows he can't simply walk away from what happened with Tori, so he waits for her at her residence. He wants to apologize, but Tori gives him something to think about. She tells him she can't tell whether he's lying to her or lying to himself. And honestly, that may be the most important thing anyone says to KJ in this episode, because KJ clearly has feelings and confusion that he hasn't fully dealt with. He has to figure out what he actually wants before he can expect Tori or anyone else to trust him. Final thoughts. This episode was messy, but in the best possible way. Almost every storyline collided with another one. The showcase created tension between Jordan, Cassius, and KJ. Mr. Mosley introduced another potential problem for the Bakers. KJ and Amina's secret finally came out. Tori confronted KJ. Khalil's family situation became more complicated. Amina's Dinsburg problems got worse. And somehow, through all of this, Coop's dinner actually ended on a surprisingly positive note. Brianna still had a good time with Coop's family and friends despite everything that happened. Layla also apologized for questioning Coop's happiness with Brianna, which gave that relationship some much-needed breathing room. But the biggest question coming out of the episode is probably this. What happens now that everybody knows the truth? KJ can't hide behind excuses anymore. Jordan has a major career decision in front of him. Cassius has to decide who he trusts. Amina has to deal with the consequences of standing up for herself. Khalil has to figure out his future. And Tori has to decide whether KJ is someone she can still believe in. That's why this episode worked so well. It wasn't about one massive twist. It was about several personal problems finally colliding. And when All American gets that balance right, it can be incredibly entertaining. This was messy. This was uncomfortable. There were secrets everywhere. But most importantly, it felt like these characters were actually being pushed into decisions that could change their relationships going forward. And after an episode this chaotic, the real question isn't whether the drama is over. It's who gets hurt next.